Hello all, and let's have some reviews. Just more of like, let's catch up on some stuff. I had planned sometime last week to do another live stream, but with Grand Slam basically going till midnight my time, right there, and then I can't remember what happened Thursday. Something happened Thursday, and I wasn't able to do anything Thursday. And then Saturday just bad time. So just didn't happen. Hopefully this coming Friday, or maybe Thursday, we'll see. I should be good to go. So there we go with that. But let's talk some wrestling. Let's talk about lots of stuff that has happened. And let's start with the big one. Let's start with the Dynamite version of Grand Slam. We'll start with that. The big show that they've been building up, their biggest show attendance wise they've ever done. Their first show in New York City, by all accounts a huge success. Their third highest rated show they've ever done, which some people I think have thought maybe a little disappointing. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think a big part of that was the match that everyone was kind of looking forward to was at the start of the show, and then it was a lot of like stuff, right, that happened. So there we go. Okay, so let's start with the biggie. Let's start with the match they started with, which was Brian Danielson versus Kenny Omega. Everyone that has talked about this virtually has said the same thing. If you thought that you were getting Daniel Bryan in AEW, this was first match out, not happening. This was Brian Danielson. We got all of his kind of classic spots, but not just that. There was intensity. There was all of that stuff, and he was in there with Kenny Omega. They went to the 30-minute draw, which I think everyone going in, even if you didn't like the draw, thought that was a good idea. There was just really, really good stuff. It went 30 minutes. It didn't seem like it went 30 minutes at all, which says a ton. That says these guys could go a long time and probably put on a match that most people would thoroughly enjoy. So I think that says a lot. Of course, Dave Meltzer gave this 5 stars, which, people are going to, is it really, Daniel Bryan's or Brian Danielson's first 5-star match? Really? I will say this. I definitely, if you go by that, yes, just because this was the night it happened, I said this was the best TV match I'd ever seen. I always forget when I say that about TV matches, that Steamboat Flair 2 was on TV. I don't think this was that good. Still, it was better than Wyndham and Flair. That's the one pretty much everyone always remembers. I do think it was better than that. And to me, that's kind of the standard. If you're going to talk like great TV matches, that's where you're at. I definitely think it was better than that. And it was a great like first match for these two. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was just like really good. My wife was into it. She usually watches AEW with me. She was into it, so it was really good. Even though she did not get the which most of the crowd didn't either. The I have till 5, which didn't really go, but there we go. It was still a really, really good stuff. And then it's kind of like, what do you do to top that? Well, you have CM Punk come out, cut a promo. He cut a really good promo, hyping up his match with Hobbs on Dynamite or on Rampage. So that was really good. Then we had MJF versus Brian Pullman Jr. I honestly went into this thinking, would they let Brian Pullman Jr. win? But given that they are very protective of MJF, and the fact that he just lost not a month ago, that wasn't going to happen. That didn't happen. Match was okay. It was service. It was good. I would say it was a solid, good match. Brian Pillman Jr. like, there's parts of him where I see like he could be something, but then I don't. But he's definitely not there yet. But the crowd does naturally get behind him, which is a good thing. And so, yeah, so that happened. Then we had what? Then we had, match-wise, we had Malakai Black taking on Cody Rhodes. I've seen a lot of it, so I got a lot to say about this. People were like, oh, Cody's getting booed. And what's the point? This isn't like, people compare Cody, and I don't get this. And maybe somebody in the comments can explain this to me. People compare Cody with Triple H and Jeff Jarrett, and I don't get that, because Jeff Jarrett and Triple H, even when they put somebody over, they really didn't put them over in the right way a lot of the time. Sometimes they did, most of the time they didn't, which ended up hurting them, which is kept, which was the main problem. Cody has, if you look at, like, Cody, put over Darby Allin. Cody put over Brody Lee. He's definitely put over Malakai Black. And so for people to say that, really, like, it's like, what are you watching? And I get that they're like, well, he's a focal point of the company. Well, yes, he was a focal point of the company from day one. And then they, right almost out of the bat, they were like, he's never, for the foreseeable future, never going to go after the world title. He'll go after the TNT title, but not the world title. And all of that. And people were like, oh, he's getting booed. And he played into it. That was the thing. He didn't do, like, if you go back and you watch, like, when this would happen with, like, Triple H wouldn't play into it. He would just have the other guy wrestle in a way so that the fans just wouldn't care and then wouldn't boo or cheer. And it was just like, well, what the hell? That's not what we got here. The match was good. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, but it was good. The Arn stuff was a little weird. That kind of threw me for a little bit. I definitely think, my thing with Cody is I think his matches are overbooked, and I've never been a big Cody fan from the start, because I think his matches at times just don't click, at least with me. There's some people they absolutely click with. I am not one of those people. But more power to him, and it was, it was pretty much what it was. So, yeah. Then we had, I think, the surprise match of the night. You had Darby Allin and Sting taking on FTR. I was kind of wondering, like, what they were going to do here, because it seemed weird for FTR to lose here, but it is Darby and Sting, so, and I'm sure FTR had no problem, like, doing stuff with Sting, and it showed. They bumped all over the place. They made him look great, though he himself looked great. I mean, you have it in your mind of what Sting can and can't do, and then he always goes out there and just blows your expectations out of the water. He is, for a legend, he is so great as a legend, and him and Darby, and I often wonder, because they still have not lost, if at some point we'll see Darby and Sting go for the tag team titles at some point, because they are undefeated still. So I think that would be, I think we will know if that's the case if they ever take on the Gun Club, because the Gun Club, of course, they did that little thing where they talked about being undefeated. I think that will be the thing in my mind, is that they will take on the Gun Club, and if they beat the Gun Club, and then you'll know, hey, they're going for the titles. So there we go. Then we had, surprise, in the main event of the biggest, most a show that they had the biggest fans, the most fans at, the biggest Dynamite, as far as them pushing for, ever, and it was the women, who apparently, in AEW never get, any sort of anything, but here we are. They were in the main event here, and Britt Baker taking on Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho was crazy over. I don't know if she's still going to be over after this, but it is amazing just, like, how over she is. And you had somebody that actually, would get Britt booed, which is good. I think one of the problems with this match was I don't think anyone really thought Ruby was going to win. And so even the hope spots were not, like, great. And as other people have said, Britt is good. She is not great in the ring. as a character, as a performer, as all of that, she has come leaps and bounds. The wrestling is not there yet, but you can see her improving, so that is good. Ruby herself is not like the best of the best, but she is really, really good. And so yeah, so this was a good match. It wasn't great. I think that because the opener was like amazing, it really made the rest of the show feel not as good. Even though I think it was, if this was a normal Dynamite, I think people would feel a lot better about it. But I think that because it wasn't like you had that really high and then it just was at a level that was way below that, even though it was still really good, but it was way below that. It hurt the show, but still, it was a fun night. Really good. By, like I said, by all accounts, it was a successful night, and that is always good to see. Then we went into Rampage. We skipped a day. We went into Rampage, and I think most people would say Rampage was the better show of the two. But I also think it was a much deeper show in a lot of ways. So we had CM Punk taking on Powerhouse Hobbs, to nobody's shock, I think. CM Punk won, but he did give Powerhouse Hobbs, he gave Hobbs a lot. I will say this, watching this, being at the Fan Fest and meeting Hobbs, TV does not do him justice. That man is huge. Somebody, I can't remember who, on Twitter asked me, who was bigger, Hobbs or Brian Cage. I think Brian Cage, like, his upper body, especially, maybe a little bigger, but his legs are not as big. Where Hobbs is like head to toe, just huge. And I think that's the two difference. But Punk did let him look good. Not a great match, but still good. It was a good showing by Hobbs. Hook actually got, the when will we see Hook debut thing, actually got a large amount of cheers, so that was cool to see. So yeah. Then we had six-man, and this was, on Twitter while watching this, everyone was like, and people wonder why everyone says they need a trio's titles. This would be why. The Super Click, Adam Cole, Matt, and Nick Jackson taking on Christian Cage, the Jurassic Express. This was tons of fun. This is exactly what you want a six-man to be. And I think they could actually do more six-mans on TVs. I think my thing with a six-man is it allows you to still allow storylines to develop while not giving away matches for free, or I should say not having to give matches away. I shouldn't say matches for free because everything is just so different now. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Luchasaurus took the pin, which I think kind of tells you where they're going with this. I still believe fully that at some point we're going to get Christian turning heel, and him and Jungle Boy going at it, which I think will be really good, and I think that will be like the leap for Jungle Boy. But this was a lot of fun, and just like I said, when people wonder why everyone is fine with a six-man tag in AEW, this would be the match right here. So there you go. Then we had Men of the Year taking on the Inner Circle. This ended up being more of a angle, which I think worked out really well, where Top Team came out, and Dan Lambert's MMA dudes came out, beat up both Jericho and Hager. We'll see where this goes. I don't know where it's going to go. I will say this, of all the people, the one that I was kind of shocked because I was listening to Dave Meltzer, and Dave Meltzer was kind of like Paige Van Zant. She had a bigger role to play in this, and he was kind of like down on her being, in pro wrestling. And I was kind of like, really? Because, she has a pretty large fan base already. She definitely has the drive. I could see her wanting to go this route since it looks like the bare knuckle boxing is not really working out. She's okay at MMA, but she's not great. And in pro wrestling, she could be great. So I'm kind of shocked that he was kind of down on her being in pro wrestling, but it is what it is. Then we had an 8-man tag. This was not as good as the 6-man tag, but it was fun. The inner circle, Ortiz and Santana taking on the Lucha Bros, or with the Lucha Bros, taking on the Hardy family of Isaiah Cassidy, Marking Quinn, the Blade and the Butcher. This was fun. It just was very spotty. All kind of just, but it was fun to watch. No question about that. So there was that. Then we had the weakest match, maybe of both nights. Penelope Ford taking on Anna Jay. I don't think anyone had huge hopes for this. I was shocked they didn't do the tag match here, but apparently going to do the tag match on this coming week's Dynamite, I believe. But yeah, I was shocked they didn't do the tag match here. Penelope Ford won, which of course sets up the tag match, which it is what it is. And then we had the lights out match, Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley taking on Lance Archer and Suzuki, with Eddie Kingston getting the win over Lance Archer. I like the lights out kind of gimmick. I think that's a cool AEW thing. This was really good. This was good. It wasn't great. They didn't have time for it to be I would say great. It was kind of plundery, which of course isn't Suzuki's type of thing, but Suzuki got his spots in, so that was good. They're going to do a rematch on one of the New Japan Strong shows, which I would imagine that match Suzuki and Archer will win. But it was really cool, and of course we had Homicide make his debut, which was interesting because of course he was on the GCW show the next night, the next night, or the same night actually, that it aired. So that was interesting, to say the least. But I guess we have Homicide in AEW in some way, so that will be interesting since he's also in Ring of Honor. So hey, it is what it is. But overall, I both nights I thought were really good. If this is what we have to look forward to when it comes to the specials that we're going to start getting, and of course Rampage is now going to stay on TNT, they announced, which I'm sure TNT likes those ratings. That I know some people are kind of like about the Rampage ratings, but you have to understand the time slot, all of that. It's very apparent that TNT likes that, and they're keeping it there, so that should tell you something. But yeah, if it's this type of stuff, I doubt we'll get 4 hours. We'll probably get 3, maybe just 2, but I would imagine 3. Then by all means, it's going to be really fun to see some of this stuff. So there we go with that. And then we had GCW's Get Lost Alot. So I got this show purely for the main event, which was Minoru Suzuki versus Homicide, because I love both of those guys, and it's a weird match that works, if that makes sense. And definitely after watching it, it was I actually liked it, but I'll get to why I liked it better than the Jonathan Gresham match, which I think I'd probably need to go back and watch the Gresham match without the commentary. I think I might enjoy it better. So there you go, Marking. But we started with Zayne versus AR Fox. This was really good, and then would be sloppy, and then would be really good. They did some amazing stuff, but then there was it looked like AR maybe got blown up a little bit. At the same time, Zayne looked like he may have been off a little bit, and I think both of those near the end of the match, it just kind of, I don't want to say fell apart, but it was very sloppy in places. But it was a fun opener. So there was that. Then Matt Cardona, and I love this angle with Matt Cardona and GCW. I think he came out basically saying that he was screwed. and that he was inserting himself because he had a rematch clause in the Nick Gage and Moxley match, and Brent Lauderdale says that's not how we play it here. You got to beat somebody, and he's like, okay. He goes, I'll put up my Universal, GCW Championship, which everyone's making fun of, and he's like, no, you're gonna put up the other belt, which was his Internet Championship belt, which he's had for like 10 years, and he's like, okay, I'll put it up. He was kind of about it, and then Effie comes out, schoolboys him from back, beats him in like 3 seconds, and Matt Cardona is like screwed again. I figure this is leading to something really good. I've liked this whole angle. I think one thing it shows is that Matt Cardona is very, very creative, and the fact that WWE couldn't do anything with him and refused to do anything with him says a lot. A lot. So there you go. Then we had Atticus Cogar taking on Jordan Oliver. I could have cared less about this match. I don't like either of these two guys. So yeah, not my cup of tea at all. Then we had the second Gear Crew taking on Chris Dickinson and Starboy Charlie. This was, I felt, really good. I thought that Starboy Charlie in particular really, like, as the babyface in peril, did really well. And Chris Dickinson basically being, the Ricky Morton was, or I guess he would be Ricky, but anyways, was a lot of fun. And I enjoyed that a lot. Then we had Ishimori taking on Tony Deppen. This was really good too. I would say great, but it was really good. Another, like, just what you would expect out of Tony Deppen and Ishimori. Just a lot of fun. Then we had, oh my god, this match. Then we had this 6-way scramble with Ninja Mac, Cole Roderick, Dante Leon, Deranged, Jimmy Lloyd, and Nick Wayne. This was, like, how long? I don't even think this went like 10 minutes, but it may have went just a little bit over 5 minutes. But they did all sorts of crazy stuff. This was I would say, even if you don't like Spot Fest, this is worth seeing. Nick Wayne did a dive that I think was Jimmy Lloyd caught him, and what happened after was just like, I'd never seen anything like it. Ninja Mac did like 2 moves that were just absolutely insane. Deranged did a Spanish Fly when Ninja Mac was trying to do a Space Tiger drop. I mean, it was just like, oh my god, there was stuff in here that I just never seen before. It was so creative and really good. Then we had AJ Gray taking on Yoya, I think is who it was. Basically, who came out being a young boy. AJ Gray beat him up for a while, and then he came charging back. If you like that sort of thing, which I do like, this was a lot of fun, and the fans got into it. It was really, really good. Then we had Nick Gage versus Grim Reaper. This went like way too long. I could have cared less about this, to be honest. And then we had Minoru Suzuki taking on Homicide. This was so much fun to see, and was just a great match. Just seeing both of them just go at it, doing their thing. 2 guys that I see as legends going at it is always fun, and just absolutely enjoyed it. I definitely think if you kind of always wonder what GCW is about, this would be a good show to do. The one thing I would say is that you didn't get like the classic death match, which they do really well when they're really well, but sometimes they don't, and it really does seem like they've pulled back a little bit, especially with Suzuki being on the card, because I think they know they're going to have people that don't normally watch. It's kind of like at these spring break shows. But the big thing about this show was that Lenny Leonard was on commentary, and I thought that Gil, is that his last name? The other guy that normally is the announcer, who I can't ever, which I just don't like, and a lot of people don't like. Even he was toned down, Kevin Gill He was toned down. I think that having Lenny Leonard there kind of maybe like woke him up that maybe they need to tone it back a little bit. But the commentary was so much better on this show than it was on the Gresham show, and it showed. It helped. It helped in the matches where it was Prazak and Lenny Leonard, especially. It was a lot of fun. Prazak and Leonard with Gil on the 6-way scramble is a lot of fun as well to like just listen to them, because that's the match where they got to have a little bit of fun, and it was worth it. But yeah, this is, like I said, if you're kind of just wanting to see, like, check GCW out, I think this is definitely the show to do that with. I think putting it on the Friday of Grand Slam, the Rampage Grand Slam, was probably not the best idea, but because I know I stopped. I think it was right after the 6-man. I stopped and had to come back and watch the show, because so I could watch Rampage. But really good show. Like I said, this is probably a show that I would say, if you want to kind of check GCW out, this is probably the show to do it with. And since we had New Japan talent on this show, let's talk a little bit about the G1. So I'm not going to go really in depth. The top 2 matches most of the nights have been the matches to see. Everything else has been good. Apparently, I have definitely picked and chose what I'm watching, because the shows just don't like pop for me or anything like that. And they're definitely not up to the like as far as show standards of what we're used to. But I will say Zack Saber Jr. This is what I wanted to talk about. Zack Saber Jr. He right now, as I'm making this, is undefeated, and has looked really strong. I know Markeem on Twitter had talked about the fact that he can't wait for everything to kind of get back to normal, so that Ospreay and Jay White can go back. And if I was those 2 guys, I would be kind of worried, because if they just push Zack Saber Jr., and I'm a huge Zack Saber Jr. fan. If you have followed this channel for a long time, way back when Brian Danielson and Nigel McGuinness left Ring of Honor, Zack Saber Jr. was one of the 2 guys I said that they should bring in to replace those 2 guys. The other one was Prince Devitt. I have always been really high on Zack Saber Jr. I understand with Zack Saber Jr. there is baggage, so we may not see him over here, but of course he did cut a promo on Brian Danielson, so there was that. But yeah, he definitely has looked like the stud that I've always thought he was going to be. So I think I've gone on almost 30 minutes. That's probably long enough. Yeah, I will probably be back maybe Thursday. We'll see. If not Thursday, then definitely Friday after Rampage. But we will see. But with that, I am out. Have a good one. Later.